Christopher Columbus, the man who crossed the ocean. Introduction. Christopher Columbus was one of the most famous explorers in history. He was born in Italy in 1451 and grew up near the sea. From a young age, he dreamed of sailing far and discovering new lands. His journey in 1492 across the Atlantic Ocean was one of the most important events in history. It changed the way people saw the world. He did not know that he had found a new continent, but his voyages opened the way for future explorers. This is the story of his life, his adventures, and his discoveries, which continue to inspire many today. Early life and dreams of the sea. Columbus was born in the city of Genoa, in what is now Italy. His father was a weaver, but Columbus wanted to be a sailor. He was fascinated by the sea and spent hours watching the ships in the harbor. He listened to sailors' stories about distant lands and dangerous waters. As a young boy, he studied maps and read about famous explorers like Marco Polo. He also learned Latin, Portuguese, and Spanish, which helped him understand navigation books from different countries. He became skilled in sailing and navigation, learning how to use the stars to find direction. Columbus believed that the world was round and that he could reach Asia by sailing west instead of east. He thought this would be a faster way to trade with the wealthy lands of China and India. However, at that time, most people thought his idea was crazy. They believed that the journey was too long and that ships would fall off the edge of the world. But Columbus was determined. He was ready to prove that his idea was correct, no matter how many people doubted him. Of the big idea. At that time, many people traveled to Asia by land or by sailing around Africa. This was a long and difficult journey that took many months or even years. Sailors faced storms, pirates, and dangerous sea creatures. Columbus had a new idea. He thought that if he sailed west, he would reach Asia faster. He believed that the ocean was smaller than it actually was, and that he would quickly find land. To make his journey possible, he needed money and ships. He went to the kings and queens of different countries, asking for help. He first asked the king of Portugal, but he refused. Then he asked the kings of France and England, but they also said no. They thought his plan was too risky. Finally, in 1492, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain agreed to support him. They were interested in finding new trade routes and expanding their power. They gave him 3 ships, the Niña, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. Columbus was excited and confident. He believed he was about to make the greatest discovery in history. The journey begins. On August 3, 1492, Columbus and his crew set sail from Spain. The journey was long and difficult. At first, the sailors were excited, but as the days passed, they became worried. The ocean seemed endless, and there was no sign of land. The sailors were afraid because they had never sailed so far from home. Some thought they would fall off the edge of the world. Others feared that sea monsters would attack their ships. Columbus tried to keep his crew calm. He told them that they would find land soon. He kept 2 records of the journey, one with the real distance they traveled and another with a shorter distance to make the sailors feel better. He was determined to reach his goal. As the days turned into weeks, food and water started to run low. The crew began to lose hope. Some even planned to turn back. But Columbus never gave up. He promised them that if they did not find land in a few more days, they could return home. Land ho! On October 12, 1492, after more than 2 months at sea, a sailor on the Pinta saw land. He shouted, "Land ho!" and everyone cheered. Columbus and his men were overjoyed. They had reached an island in what is now the Bahamas. They quickly got ready to go ashore. Columbus stepped onto the land, holding the Spanish flag. He and his men knelt down and thanked God for their safe journey. The native people came to greet them. They were friendly and curious, offering gifts like food and gold. Columbus thought he had reached islands near Asia, but he was actually in a completely new world. He called the people Indians because he believed he was near India. He did not know that he had discovered a land that was unknown to Europeans. The meeting between the Europeans and the native people would change history forever. Exploring the New World. Columbus and his men explored the islands. They saw strange plants, colorful birds, and animals they had never seen before. They collected gold, spices, and other treasures to bring back to Spain. The native people were kind and helpful, but they did not understand the intentions of the Europeans. Columbus believed he had found a new way to Asia. He was eager to return home and tell the Spanish king and queen about his success. When he arrived in Spain, he was treated like a hero. The people celebrated his return, and the king and queen were pleased. They gave him more ships and money for another journey. Columbus made 3 more trips across the Atlantic. He explored many islands in the Caribbean and parts of South America. Each time, he hoped to find a direct route to Asia, but he never did. More voyages and challenges. Columbus's later voyages were not as successful as his first. He started colonies in the new lands, but they faced many problems. The Spanish settlers and the native people did not always get along. There were conflicts, and some of Columbus's men treated the natives badly. Many people died from sickness and hunger. The journey across the ocean was dangerous, and supplies were often low. Columbus lost control of the colonies, and in 1500 he was arrested and sent back to Spain in chains. He was accused of bad leadership and mistreating people. Although he was later freed, he never regained his power. He spent the last years of his life in disappointment. He still believed he had found a new route to Asia. He never knew that he had discovered a new continent. The final years. Columbus died in 1506, believing he had reached the edge of Asia. He never knew that he had actually found new lands that would become the Americas. After his death, other explorers followed his path. They realized that Columbus had discovered a vast and unknown world. His journeys changed history and connected 2 continents. Even though he faced many challenges, his courage and determination opened the way for future explorations. The conclusion. Christopher Columbus was a brave explorer who changed history. His journey across the ocean connected 2 worlds. Even though he never knew he had found a new land, his voyages had a great impact. His story is one of adventure, courage, and discovery. His journey marked the beginning of a new era in world history, bringing together different cultures and shaping the future of exploration.